everybody, welcome to MUSE TV. We are here. It's our South by Southwest coverage, and we have the directors of The Spine of Night. We have Philip Gelatt and Morgan Galen King. Dude, this animation is awesome. I love it because it reminds me of some of the animation when I grew up with in the late 70s, early 80s. Tell us a little bit about the story and what was your inspiration to make this film?
Well, I mean, certainly the same films that I think we remember fondly as well. I mean, certainly all the Ralph Bakshi films and heavy metal, where they're standards of my childhood, and Phil's as well. So I mean, a lot of it grew out of wanting to like make a world and a film that evoked that, and extrapolated on some of those ideas and modernized some of those ideas and really dig into that milieu.
And was there always that interest of rotoscoping the animation and giving it that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like you can't not do it. Like to get that feeling, it almost just had to be. It's very baked into that.
I occasionally try to imagine this film in a different style, be it live action or CG animation. It just wouldn't be at all the same thing. Like there is it's hard baked into it on almost every level, I think.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I got about it and I loved about it, because of the fact that it's like that fantasy Dungeons and Dragons type of feel to me that I grew up playing when I was in high school. And it kind of pulled me in, and then watching like those old cartoons, it got me so excited from the get-go. And you have such a great voice cast. How did you get these? I mean, Richard E. Grant, Lucy Lawless, Patton Oswalt, Joe Manganiello. How did you get them in? I mean, that's an awesome cast.
So we got them in basically. So it was a long process to make this movie. So for a long time it was we shot what's called like motion reference stuff, the whole movie with actors used for motion reference. Many years later, after the animation was almost done, we set about doing the voice casting. So at that point, we were able to, we had what the movie would look like, right? So when we approached, let me say this, we were sort of curatorial in who we would approach, right? Because some people, you would say, I have this hard R fantasy film, and they would be like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But so you have to sort of think about, the types of people who would, be interested and be excited about it. So that basically led to most of our cast. Like Joe Manganiello certainly, loves D&D and loves sort of extreme genre art. Patton Oswalt has been very upfront about his love of D&D and genre stuff. Lucy, I don't know whether Lucy loves to watch fantasy, but she certainly comes from that world, and she is, royalty in that world. So she just made sense to approach, and immediately got what the project was, and immediately understood who her character was, and was able to bring a real life to it. Richard E. Grant is a human being that I just love. I love all of his performances. To be honest, I have no idea what he thinks about the genre. I'm very glad that he came to be in our movie, though, because he's I've loved him for forever. So yeah, It's really
and this is what I like about it, is that you guys seem really excited and really happy about the film, and that's what I love, because growing up with this type of mythology and everything, you could feel like there's a connection there with that, and I'm literally looking forward to see what the audience thinks, because you're presenting this on March 18th, correct? It's a midnight screening or late night screening. What is it like to be able to be picked in to be a part of the South by Southwest Film Festival?
I mean, I couldn't have really imagined a better fit. It seems like, I worked a lot with, I had a small record label and worked with a lot of bands in my 20s. And South by Southwest was always like the holy grail at the end of all of that. That was the pinnacle. And so I feel like it just has that sort of baked in, midnight movie counterculture vibe that there's not other genre film festivals obviously do too, but I don't know, there's something just for the intersection of music and independent art in filmmaking that South by Southwest does just seems like the perfect home for a premiere for this.
Yeah, and I wish we could all be together in person and be able to watch this, because I would love to hear what the crowd would think of this film, because I just think it'd be nuts. It'd be nuts for your film.
That'd be very fun.
Yeah, but since we can't, I mean, we have to do the best we can with what we have at this time. But is there plans to have it released more? Are you still shipping it around?
Yeah, so we're looking for distribution still. You know, South by Southwest is the first time that the public will see it, so we're hoping that coming out of that festival we'll have some kind of clarity as to when everybody else can see it. But yeah, I mean, I also, I mean, yeah, I hope that we'll be able to play in theaters at some point, because it would be so much fun to go and see it with people. And like, it's funny, the movie, like I mean, it's quite violent, but you know, I've lived with it for so long, as has Morgan, that I kind of forget how violent it is. So I had like a mini version of this experience when we were doing the sound design, and I walked into the sound studio before COVID, and there was a guy setting the movie up, and he was like watching part of it, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think of the movie?" And he was like, "Man, that is a violent movie." And I was like, "Is it?" So being able to sort of experience that like live in a theater with people would be, you know, just the first encounter with just how sort of uncompromising the movie is in that regard would be really fun.
Yeah. And it was funny to me. I didn't think it was that violent.
See, there you go. Thank you.
I didn't think it was that violent. I didn't think it wasn't. I thought it was perfect for the animation and everything.
Yes.
Maybe if it was live action, okay, maybe you could say for the
it's as violent as it needs to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's at the points where it needs that certain type of violence. It has it, and that's what's awesome about this film. One thing I did want to, being a fan of animation and this type of form of animation, how was it more of the old style? Did you go back to the old techniques, or did you mix in more of the new computer graphic techniques into this?
It was, I mean, the animation is all done on computers, but the fundamentals are really pretty unchanged from how it was done. Like, there is no computer assistance in it. It's, you know, we filmed it and then exported the live footage at 12 frames per second, and then keyframed it, and, you know, it's traditional hand by hand, or, you know, frame by frame hand rotoscope work. So it's very it's as close as I could approximate, at least, to doing a digital version of what like Bakshi was doing.
Yeah, and considering Max Fletcher had done, and that this process is still being used now, is amazing. And I love seeing that you guys are keeping this format going, especially with your film.
No, it has such a rich history, and I think so much of it people don't know too. Like, there's this whole world that I discovered while I was doing this, of like Soviet era rotoscope animation that I had never seen. If someone hadn't put it on YouTube, I wouldn't even know it existed. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and I love, like, I can't praise your film enough. I love it a lot. What can you tell the Muse audience to get their tickets to be a part of this? Because since everybody around the world could see your film and don't have to be in Austin, they can see it from their home.
Morgan, what would you say to hook a person in?
I was.
It took me 7 years to draw it, so it'll only take you 90 minutes to watch it. So
that's a terrible pitch. That's a terrible pitch.
That's a really good.
It's like, redo that pitch.
At least it's not very long. Is not a good pitch.
Yeah, I mean, my point is, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on every frame, and like, you're gonna see it, as I hope you see it, at least as the audience. You're gonna say, like, wow, I saw 7 years in a condensed art form. That is exciting. That's what I want them to know.
I would say, if you love animation in general, it's worth it to see it because of the animation techniques on display. If you love fantasy in general, or to be more specific, things like Conan the Barbarian, to a certain degree Game of Thrones, let's say fantasy that is more adult in nature, certainly you will want to see this movie. If you like Lucy Lawless, Patton Oswalt, or Joe Manganiello, you should certainly come see the movie. And if you are like, oh, I would find it highly offensive to see a very naked, very violent animated movie, you should come see it too, just to see if you're actually offended by the fact that it is a very violent, naked fantasy film. And then I think those are enough reasons. I can't think, if you're also just like kind of bored and thinking to yourself, what should I do? let me tell you, there's this movie that you should come see. That's my pitch.
You guys, hey, it's a good enough pitch for me because I would go see it. You guys did an amazing job. You did an amazing job. Animation and the art was beautiful in it, especially with the backgrounds that were so rich. So we cannot wait to see it again on Thursday. But thank you so much for stopping with us. Really appreciate it. And we'll put in more details on how you can watch their film and a link to get tickets to watch their film in South by Southwest. Thank you once again. I'm Mike Sandoval. We'll see you next time on MUSE TV.